Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
What's going on?
Nothing much, friend. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm at the ferry. I wish we did a video because I'm at the ferry and I have never seen the ferry look this crowded. My boat never is crowded. Like it's always like a line, but it's not like a line that I'm seeing right now. So I don't know if I'm just on the later boat. I'm usually on an earlier one, but it looks crazy. Like the last boat that left couldn't even put on like half the people. It just looks nuts.
And that's the ferry from the city back to
Jersey,
yo.
Edgewater.
I can only imagine. I've never taken those ferries before. But then again, I've never had the ferry to Jersey. I've always, New Jersey Transit or driven. Only time I taken a ferry was to Staten Island a couple times, and I was like,
It's um it's the easiest way to commute to work. Um on days like this when it's like super, super hot out, it's the coolest way to get to work as well.
yeah, and like if the
So
weather's nice, it would be perfect. I know, like if they had that here in DC, we couldn't do it this summer because it just stays like raining every other day. That's just like it's July, not April or May.
yeah.
Why is it raining so much here?
Well, that's rain season. That's July is when rain season starts.
Yeah,
Hurricane season starts around that time.
but this is more egregious than like other summers where like it'll rain
Yeah,
for a little bit and pass. This has been like a consistent almost every other night or every third night it's raining
yeah.
at night. It's just
Um,
like
hmm
what the hell?
hmm yeah. It's inside too, so it's just such a simpler way to drive to commute to work, not drive to work, but commute to work. Corey was good,
Good evening.
Mister 634.
Yeah,
How you
that's me.
feeling?
I am well. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm good.
How are you, Justin?
Um,
I'm all right. I'm all right. Can't really complain.
That's great.
well,
I,
I
I'm I,
guess we can get to it.
I'm resting up for this big weekend because there is, man, when you talk about there is a lot of wrestling.
See, what's going on? So you know, I've been on the other side of town, and it's time to come back. It's
So
time to migrate over. So what's really going on? So
so you
we j- oh
got over in
we just got
Atlanta,
Evolution, right?
you got Evolution 2 and you have Saturday night's main
Mhm.
event in Atlanta.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You
Okay,
have AW All In Texas.
what day is that? This the same day? A Saturday?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Great American Bash is
Damn.
also Saturday.
Oh wow. So we got NXT Saturday, AEW Saturday, and then Saturday night's main event Saturday.
Did you ask that with a question? Like,
Yes, because I don't know. I'm asking. So
no,
we got all
yes,
three
Saturday. I
Saturdays?
thought you. I'm like, well, yes, Saturday night's main event is on Saturday. What
No,
other
no,
day
no.
would
I'm
it be?
saying all three events are Saturday.
Well, yes,
Oh my God. And then Sunday is Evolution.
yes.
Wow. That's a lot of wrestling.
A lot.
I've heard.
A
Huh.
lot. And for those in the Atlanta area, you also have Beyonce pulling up in the town as well. So you talk
Yeah.
about Atlanta's basically like Mania weekend.
Well,
Yeah. I was gonna
Atlanta
go this
also.
weekend, but then I'm
Y'all
not
forgetting
going.
something else too.
What?
Baseball All Star Weekend is this weekend in Atlanta also.
Jesus
Oh wow.
Christ.
Yeah, MLB All Star Weekend is this weekend.
Bruh. So
Oh
it's gonna
wow.
be
Yeah,
packed
home run
packed in
derby's on
Atlanta.
Monday.
Home Run Derby is this weekend too?
It's on Monday,
Okay.
but it's still everybody's in town for that too. So
Okay.
Jeez.
Damn. Not that I know anybody that goes to that, but okay.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna
oh
go to All Star
that's
Weekend
a
for
big deal.
baseball, yeah, that's the one you go to is the home run derby. Like I
Yeah,
remember when they had the All Star game here in DC, I was gonna get tickets for the home run derby. That shit was crazy expensive.
yeah.
I like everyone shows up for that shit.
Mhm.
I mean,
Okay.
plus all the celebrity stuff too. That's the stuff that's during the weekend.
The
Is
celebrity stuff.
like the celebrity like softball game and all of that. All of that's the weekend.
Um, it's like the NBA. They do it like the NBA.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, let's get into it. You know where I've been. I've been on another island. So
yes. You and I have been on other
I'm gonna leave with
islands.
y'all.
It's just our islands have been perpendicular. I've been on this current season island. You've been like Jay catch up. I'm on these other ones.
Hmm. So
I'm sure.
what's going on the wrestling island?
Huh.
Is that question for me?
I
It's
think
for
I
anybody
think
because I'm not on that island right now. I'm trying to. I just got here. I haven't even packed my bag. Unpacked my bags.
I'm
So yeah.
sure. Look, you're unpacking bags. I am
Right.
finishing packing bags.
Right.
So
Right.
I
Okay.
can leave town and go to Atlanta. Which,
Okay. Let's get
yeah.
into it. What's been going on?
So where do you want to start?
I don't care.
I would
What's been
say
going
let's
on?
start
Okay,
with
I'm just making
evolution.
sure.
Let's start with evolution two because the fact that
Sure.
everyone has been clamoring for this to come back for years. We've been saying for like years they have the roster in order to do this. We finally get evolution two, and the card looks good, but it's almost like half like excitement and half like damn, like people getting injured, and also like the timing because it's like same, all this wrestling going on at the same time. It's just like fuck.
Yeah, so Evolution 2 is the one that's the event that's competing against the Beyonce concert for people that are wondering. That's the actual event that is. Because I think she's there Friday and Sunday. So
Mm.
that is the event that's competing against it. It's a as you said, Justin, it's a good card, but it almost feels as and this is just what people, a lot of people are saying online. Almost feels like it's being rushed. I've seen stuff that people are saying it's almost as if they're throwing it out there to fail on purpose. I don't think anybody's doing anything like that, but I've seen people saying that. I, I I love the card. However, I just think it's in a bad spot in the sense that it was put there. It's almost like it was put there to not compete, but it was part of a package deal to compete in the overall sense of what's going with AEW this weekend. Um, and plus, it's in the middle. It's just in the middle of two huge events that they have already, already had and are having. As far as Night of Champions and then SummerSlam, it's like it doesn't have its own legs to stand alone because it's just kind of it's like a bridge show that's just you don't you expect something to happen there, but I don't know, it's a weird vibe to it. I'm happy the event is happening, but it's a weird vibe that I can't shake. It's like I can't pinpoint it and I can't shake it. It's like I don't know. But I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'm happy it's happening, but it feels like now that we've had hindsight, of how things went down 7 years ago with the last one, it almost feels like we're not getting this again next year, and it may be some
What's the
time before we
hindsight?
get it again.
What's
I'm
the
saying the
hindsight that we
hindsight is
got?
that it took 7 years for us to get it again.
Well, there's a reason why it took
Yeah, I
7
mean,
years. I'm kind of shocked that it's even on. I'll be very blunt and very honest.
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm shocked that we're even having this show.
yeah, and that's what I'm
Um,
saying. It feels like the same
yeah.
thing again. It feels like we're not getting this again. This is not going to be a yearly thing again. Like there was, and I could be wrong on your end. For me back then, not that I was like, oh my goodness, but it felt like an optimism that okay, maybe we're getting this again next year, and then we didn't.
Well, there's a reason why we didn't.
Yeah,
It's a tangible reason why we didn't get it, and I don't think people believe um the reason why we didn't get it. Hold on. Let me make sure this isn't my boat.
Yeah, get on the boat. We don't want you to miss that.
Whoa, very poor choice of
um,
words.
No, I wasn't even thinking. I was saying I don't want her to miss. It's horrible either, no matter what way you slice it.
I'm
It
just
is.
making sure that we're saying the proper words. Mimi, you and I know
okay.
the wrong thing, and people getting tossed out. Social media's been very unforgiving on
Please do
pulling up
not miss
receipts
the
on people.
ferry,
I
Mimi.
put Mr. Ferry to move. If I miss the ferry, the next one is at 7:30.
Oh,
And
Oh,
that is not hold on.
yeah,
Sorry.
we're not having that happen.
no, take your
Oh my
time.
god. Oh my god. They just changed the dots and now it's like a stampede. Oh my god.
All right, so while Mimi's
Hold on.
Yeah,
Hold on.
rushing for the
please let her
boat,
get on. Please let
Hold
her
on.
just get on there. Yeah, please. My gosh.
I'll say this then. Like, I'm excited for
Mhm.
Evolution 2. I understand. Like, I know Mimi, we've had conversations off air on why we haven't gotten Evolution 2 until like now. And it's just, I feel the same way Corey does, where like, it's horrible timing because they put so much effort into Night of Champions. They're putting so much effort into SummerSlam. You have Saturday night's main event. You have so many things going on. It this feels very last minute and kind of like here, damn, y'all wanted the show,
Yeah.
like here, there you go. And it's like nah, we wanted you to actually give a shit, and it's starting to fall into a hole of like. I haven't been very critical on Triple H and booking and the way WWE has done certain stuff, but it's kind of feeling like the women are starting to get a little shafted on some of these like booking decisions, show decisions. It kind of like we're putting it together, but we're not really caring the same way like we do. Like they put more effort into like fucking Gunther and Goldberg. And that's kind of a problem where it's like you have an all women show where people were really looking forward to this, but you're putting more effort into like a Goldberg appearance. That's gonna do nothing because he's not winning that title. And if he wins that title, it's gonna piss off a lot of people. So on top of there's so much wrestling going on this weekend, and if you happen to be in Atlanta, it's like, dude, Evolution 2 or Beyonce. And Beyonce has been put on this banger of a fucking concert that is almost like a no-brainer. That's like, I don't know if they knew when they set up, all right, we're taking over Atlanta this weekend and we're putting Evolution on during this night that you're running against Beyonce. But
So I think that can you all hear me?
yeah,
Yes.
So I think that they do know when these things are happening, and the questions that they ask normally is what's going on around that time. I I'm very surprised that they would. I think that they would have done two things. This could have been an opportunity of part of that. You know how they're doing these packaged weekends of events or whatever.
mhm,
um, I think that they probably took this opportunity because it's in all like it's Beyonce and this tour that is super themed, very woman driven, and this is a woman driven pay-per-view. So I think they banked on that, which is a good marketing and a good sales ploy, in my opinion. Um, but at the very least, one night is you can package your weekend where you go Friday night and you don't go Sunday nights, you know.
mhm,
Yeah.
But it's taking I think it was taking a risk because the tickets basically were they would drop at certain pinpoints at certain times. So I found it interesting that they would um, book it the way in such a way that the this tour was booked in terms of how they dropped their tickets. So that's one.
mhm,
Two, as in just in the whole scheme of things, I think they probably said, let's do this now because they have a completely different roster than they did 7 years ago. Um, we see how much love we get the women get, every week. Um, the matches are like light years better than they were 7 years ago. So I think there's some optimism there. I just hope that that optimism translates to the bottom line because essentially that is what matters. And that is why we did not get Evolution 2 sooner rather than later.
So, and that's great. Actually, that's actually a very good point. I want to add to that. I saw it when they said Evolution 2 was happening. With the way things are going on, what I thought, which again, I could be wrong, just my opinion, I almost feel like, and I don't want to say it in a negative way, I almost feel like Evolution 2 was what they felt was the most expendable show they could throw on as a package deal to get people to come to something else other than coming to Atlanta only for Saturday night's main event. And it almost feels like they just didn't put Evolution 2 on at any time as its own standalone destination type of thing or
Well, they
event to
couldn't.
go
They
to.
couldn't. They couldn't because of what happened 7 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So you can't. You have to package it all together,
Yeah.
and it kind of makes. Now that I think about it, it does make sense to do
Hmm.
Saturday night main event,
Yeah.
um, and that because then even if that doesn't Saturday night's main event, I don't think um might I don't think that show has been doing that great in my opinion. Like the last Saturday night main event that I went to, I felt like that was the first one. The second one, I feel like it didn't do what it wanted to do. I feel like after, and I wasn't even there in the building. I just kind of feel like it wasn't as big of a deal as the first one. And
Yeah.
maybe the first one is
Second one
because it
wasn't that.
came,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think coupling those two together, it probably would make sense. And the key piece of it, it would make sense to kind of like, even if one doesn't do well, like collectively, it'll pick up.
Yes. Yeah. It's and that's where I was getting at is that it feels like they didn't want to not throw, but they didn't want to put on anything else at this time than that, and
Well,
they
they
figured,
couldn't, right? They can't put
yeah,
on.
yeah, it's like,
I'm
yeah,
sorry. Go
no, no,
ahead.
you're fine. For me, I don't think they weren't putting on Great American Bash on Sunday. They could have, but I just don't. I think Evolution was a little bit better of a grab to do at this time, and like you said earlier, it was like, here, dang, like this is it. This is the time. Like people are like, okay, people been asking for it, you want it. This is when we're gonna put it on, and you're getting it now. Um, I I I, I like the addition. The tag match is probably going to be the match of the night. That for that, I'll just start with that. The tag title match is probably going to be the match of the night.
I
I mean,
actually think
I mean, Rhea and Io are going to go, but I feel like that tag title match really has the opportunity to be the one of that night.
it's going to be the triple threat: Becky, Bailey, Lyra. I think out of all
Yeah,
these
that
matches,
I can see
that's
that
actually
too.
been the best build of these
Hmm.
matches. I mean, Jade and Naomi has been going on since before Mania, but like
Yeah,
that three way is like they've been really cooking with that, and it's to a point of like, A, I hope that main events, and B, I think they're really going to deliver on this.
I do think I will tell you this. I do think that yeah, that it has the possibility. We don't know what the main event is going to be. You're right. That could be it. It feels like Io and Rhea is going to be the main event. It feels like that is going to be it. Um, I mean, depending on what they do Friday, Justin, there's a reason they could make a reason for it to be Trish and Tiffany at the end, in which that's the one where I'm going to be very interested in what they do if Trish and Tiffany is the last match, because you have a situation that the writing is on the wall there, that you could have Jade beat a Naomi again during the night, and then if Tiffany and Trish goes on last, Naomi could cash in, and Evolution could end with Naomi as the new champion, and then you get to run it back at SummerSlam, and there's more of a background with it.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. So that's why I'm interested to see how they go. And it's you're spot on with mentioning. Oh yeah, that's your main event. I'm looking at other things that yeah, it may not be favorable now, but if like I said, if Trish and Tiffany Stratton main event that show, it's almost to me a dead giveaway that they're having Naomi cash in.
Yeah, I
Not
think.
that they couldn't do it any other time during the show, Justin, but it almost feels like that's a moment for that show if they do it at the end of that night.
Yeah, like you could put that on earlier, but you want that closing shot to be like your declarative statement on the pay per view. And
Yeah,
as much as we love Becky, I mean, as much as we love that three way, it's also I
yeah.
don't see Becky losing it just yet.
Becky, I don't either. I 100% agree with you. I don't think Becky's losing either.
Whereas we've been
So
saying for like weeks, like Tiffany as champion has been on shaky ground for like a while, and this is before like Charlotte put out that Players Tribune article. Fantastic read. I would suggest for y'all to go pull
yeah,
that up when you get time. But one of the things that's been going around in that Tribune was her talking about her feud with Tiffany and some of the and going back to that promo in Chicago where they kind
mm-hmm.
of hooked off on each other and kind of went off script and went to the
Yep.
personal shit and how that really affected Charlotte. And Tiffany's been getting dragged through the social media mud as a result all day from that.
Well, she was getting dragged, when she did say what she said at that time, but everybody kind of felt like half of the internet thought that it was um it was she pulled that out the bag out, a very last minute, and then half of it said, "Oh, Charlotte agreed to it." It was interesting to read that Charlotte wasn't into it and she was surprised. And to understand that Charlotte is the veteran that she is, and to because in my opinion, Tiffy Time is still new. She's still a newbie. And for her to think that that was okay to use someone's personal, trauma against her in such a fresh state because that happened the day before. I didn't want to believe that she pulled it out. I wanted to believe that she, like Charlotte, was in agreement with it. I'm legitimately shocked to have read that she wasn't into it. And she handled it like a fucking champion. I'll be honest with you. She handled it very well. She didn't take to social media. She didn't do any of that. And, I get really sick and tired of people dragging Charlotte and saying that she's this, that, and a third. And it always comes out, every single situation that happens with her, it always comes out that it's the other person. Always.
Yeah, and I'm glad she said something on this. Susan, hop in here real quick since we're talking women's business. What's on your mind?
Hello, first of all, hello everyone. Big way.
Yo,
Um, Before we talk about the Charlotte thing, I just wanted to touch base on the evolution thing.
Hmm.
The reason why they haven't been able to do a sequel in the past 7 years is not any other bullshit reason. The main reason is honestly is that both companies was too busy signing all of the women's independent scene. Let's just keep it a buck. That's what it was. They signed way too many women, had nowhere to put anybody, had no plans, and they put themselves in a pickle. Even when you look at that roster 7 years ago, they were stacked from top to bottom, from main roster to developmental, even with the women that were coming in that didn't have a previous wrestling background. They've been stacked for years. They just did not feel a need to do a sequel. It's the same word with the Mae Young Classic. How long did it take to get a sequel or anything like that? Like, they got into a point where they ran through so many firsts for the women that they lost interest in it. And that's just the reality of it. Um, Also, isn't Julia a champion? Why is she not on the card? I'm just saying. But um, the
Good
Charlotte
question.
thing, yes, I'm just saying, because how is she not on the card and she's a champion? And I just really wish that the card, at some point, the name is called Evolution. We're supposed to evolve. When are we going to evolve the card to reflect a modern day wrestling card where it's not always catering to callbacks to historic situations because the crowd is getting younger and they're not going to have any attachment to who was there in the Divas division or any division that was prior to that. Like, we've got to move forward with the younger generation. Um, Charlotte's face when Tiffany Stratton said that was obvious that night. You could tell she did not know she was going to say that. And like I said in my tweet, there is a complete difference in you knowing that's coming in a promo and you consent to it and you talked about it. Um, it's even sometimes with some wrestlers, say, like, hey, say it this way, this will go over that way. In this case, she did not cater to that conversation, nothing. And she was publicly humiliated. And we just had saw the news not even 24 hours prior to that bout, the untimely divorce. And then, of course, there was the rumors all over the internet with her, most recent ex-husband. It just didn't help. And I just want to know if not only if Tiffany Stratton feels bad, because I'm sure she's going to feel bad because it's on her because she's the one that said it.
Hmm.
But whoever made that call backstage and said, hey, say this, I wonder how they feel right now because you helped light this fire against this young lady that's already been brewing for some time, but you also helped gear more hatred towards her outside of already all the antics she's already had, brewing. Now it's looking like she's gone out there on purpose to humiliate this woman when she probably didn't think it was going to happen that way. And we've seen so many times in this company where people have said, I didn't know that this was happening until I got out there. This could have been one of those situations where they could have communicated with her, oh, she's fine with it, and then she drops that line. It's just inappropriate. It's just wrong. And I really hate it. And everybody needs to be nice to Charlotte for the rest of the week. I'm just saying, because this woman has not done anything to anybody at all to deserve the rebuttals, the backlash, nothing. Like,
Yeah, people didn't realize like what she was going through behind the scenes because people throw out that 0-3 line and think, oh, she's going through the divorce. And you read that Tribune where it's like, yo, for the entire year, she blew out her knee, was trying to fix her marriage, was trying to get pregnant. We didn't, obviously, this was all new information because she didn't put that out there.
mhm,
So this shit, and all of that was happening at the same time of I'm trying to fix my knee and get back into wrestling, but I'm also trying to work on my marriage and I'm also trying to have a kid, and this is all just going to hell in a handbasket. And bringing up that 0-3 line just kind of brought all that shit right back. It was like, yeah, we kind of forget, we see Charlotte on TV, but we forget, that's actually the person too. And that's going from we're talking some shit on TV in character versus like, nah, now
mhm.
you're going personal and going in an actual dig.
It's definitely turned personal, and we've all seen the tweets in recent times where people have pointed at Charlotte's plastic surgery. um I seen a tweet earlier where Stratton was even poking fun at her surgery, and I'm just like, okay, I get this. I guess this, if this was one thing, if this was like in between you guys that you had this rapport, but based on that article coming out and then that information dropping, that's let me know that there is not that type of relationship between you two. And then on top of that, when is personal digs going to be at some point minimized that it takes away from the actual interest in the program? Um, and in this case, it's not helping either woman. Charlotte, especially in that article where she talked about ageism and being aged out of wrestling, and her being very personal about struggles with infertility and her marriage and just injuries and everything like that. So many women within this sport, especially on the independent scene, have struggled with that and have not openly talked about that. And I feel like, especially now where you got so many fans that kind of go to this point of where they forget that people are humans and this is an actual thing. And People were sitting up congratulating Stratton like it was a serve. That's not a serve. That was poor taste. It just blurs the line of professionalism, blurs the line of storylines, and takes it to a route of where it's uncomfortable for everyone, especially the person that's getting that thrown at them when they're going through a hard time.
Hmm. It's rough. It's rough, but thank you. All right,
Yep.
Megan, then Slick. We talking evolution. We talking Charlotte. What's on your mind, Megan?
Hi. Um, well, I did want to touch on the Charlotte and Tiffany situation.
Hmm.
Because at a previous podcast that I was at, I was kind of like being jumped on because I was definitely supporting and batting for Charlotte. Um, I watched her when she was on Sherry Shepherd. So I know the effect that this divorce had on her. Um, Being there for Andrade during her knee injury, welcoming him back into the WWE after leaving AEW, and no one knowing that she was still in his corner while they were going through their divorce. Um, I have to agree with the past speaker because you could tell on Charlotte's face that that was a dig that she didn't see coming. And you didn't do it in a way to where, you know, she did it in front of the world. She did it not only in front of her colleagues, but she did it in front of the fans that was there and the fans that was watching live. I can't give Tiffany a pass for that. Tiffany knew that would hurt Charlotte. She doesn't live under a rock. She knows how Charlotte felt during that interview with Sherry Shepherd. So she knew that that would hurt her. I think she was more so upset during their first promo, their first segment, where she felt like Charlotte was over talking her and over speaking her. And a lot of people felt like Charlotte, being a veteran, she should have taken it easy on Tiffany. Um, I felt like, hey, you're in the big leagues now. You have to catch up, you know.
Hmm.
If you know anything about Charlotte, she's not going to take it easy on you. But a lot of people won't. They want to see if you can keep up with the Joneses. And in that moment in time, Tiffany couldn't. And so she wanted to hurt Charlotte in a way that she knew how. And that was going personal. And like I said, I know Tiffany knew what she was doing. And honestly, the fact that it is now coming out and Charlotte feels comfortable talking about it, um, and Tiffany is kind of getting backlash for it, rightfully so. Rightfully so. You have to learn how to um I don't want to take Trinity's quote by saying proceeding with caution, but you have to work with this woman. She is your colleague. You know, you have to treat each other with a level of respect. If you felt what Charlotte did during that first promo was um if you felt a way about it, you spoken to her directly about it. Um but there's been a lot of things that has been coming out about Tiffany, and you know, some things seem a little small in comparison to others, but it's all starting to pile up. It's all starting to add up, and it's not making her look. It's not speaking good on her character. And I don't want to keep using her age as an excuse for it. She's almost 30. She knows the difference between right and wrong. I just hope that she gets gets it together. Because I don't know.
Meg,
Yes.
I don't mean to cut you off, but the one thing that you said, um, damn, what you say? You said you said the age that you don't want to keep bringing up her age. I truly believe um, age is huge. Hey, how are you?
Mhm.
Um, I truly believe age is it makes a difference. But you said, oh, if she didn't like the way Charlotte um basically delivered that promo to her, she should have had a conversation.
Right.
I truly believe Charlotte is a veteran.
Mhm.
You're working with a veteran. You don't have the right to say, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, if you didn't like the way the promo was delivered, that would be your opportunity to say, you know what? I need to work with Charlotte so I can get up to speed with her.
Right.
And then it goes back to the age. It goes back to the age. You're not smart enough to say, you basically had a tantrum in the ring
Mhm.
and she was expendable. Her trauma was expendable. Instead of you thinking like an adult and saying, you know what, I didn't like this. Let me go talk to her and let her know that I didn't like this, but I need to come up to speed.
Yeah. Yeah, because even when you look at the way that them two was fighting in the parking lot, it looked like Charlotte was throwing some real hits. It looked like she was
She
definitely
ragging her.
ragging Tiffany. And it's true, I mean, we saw the promo. Charlotte ate her up. Charlotte didn't leave no room for Tiffany to say anything. It made Tiffany look bad as the champion. And despite me saying, hey, like Charlotte did what she's supposed to do, she is the heel after all. A lot of people felt like Charlotte didn't really give Tiffany a etch word in. So, in response to that, not only did Charlotte have the crowd booing her each time she said something, so there you can't outspeak a stadium of upwards of 1,000 people. You can only say but so much. But if they keep booing you as you talk, you kind of get defeated. And then on top of that, you want to throw this in my face in front of everybody. You know,
She knew what she was doing.
um,
She knew what she was doing.
yeah, she definitely knew what she was doing. But that's I just I want Tiffany to do better. I want her to have a lengthy career. A lot of people is not going to be as a lot of women is not going to handle it like Charlotte did. Some of them is going to want to see her outside. Some of them is going to have a real issue with her, and she's not going to be able to get away with that with all those women back there, and the new upcoming women that will be joining the main roster in the future. So yeah, just I feel for my girl Charlotte, and I know that she will bounce back from it. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about it.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you for jumping in. Hope sec. Slick and Herman, you guys really want to talk about this? We're staying on women's business today. Slick, what's good?
What's up, man? I keep losing my sound, so I'm not sure if y'all can hear me or not.
I can
Oh,
hear
I
you.
thought
But
you were gonna say mind,
oh,
but go ahead.
okay, cool. Um, yeah. So about the Tiffany Charlotte thing. So to me, right, like I haven't had a chance to read the Players Tribune article yet. I'm looking forward to it because those are always very, very good. And I remember reading the one that Big E wrote, and I remember just looking at that, going like, man, oh man. And I was like, no, I was like, this is a goodbye. Everybody was, so insistent that was they were trying to tee up a storyline. I was like, yo, I was like, no, no, this is a goodbye. I said he's like he's lifting the curtain on his life and saying like, hey, this is who I really am and this is what else I got going on. And he didn't, so much he didn't close the door on wrestling, but he, basically let everybody know like, hey, I got a life outside of this. And so like I really do like those Players Tribune articles. So I'm definitely looking forward to reading the one that Charlotte wrote. But the bite that's, catching everybody's eye right now is her, going back to the Tiffany Stratton promo. And my thing is like I feel two ways about this. So on one hand, I thought it was a super low blow. I thought it was very unnecessary. To me, it came like uh, I was having this conversation with some people earlier, and they were saying how like, oh, this was like uh oh, it reminded him of like when Seth Rollins said to Matt Riddle, like, that's why your kids left your bitch ass or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And I was saying that, to me, that's not the same thing because if you look at that feud, they were really building towards like, them having, like this blood feud, right? This hell in the cell level, I need to kill you type of feud. There was nothing between Tiffany and Charlotte that warranted, getting personal, going off script, and like all of that stuff. So to me, like it just really the whole thing just made Tiffany look like super bush league. Like it reminded me actually of, and I know people actually love this example. It reminded me of when John Cena talked about when he pointed out that The Rock had his notes written on his arm. Like, in my opinion, now a lot of people love that moment. They thought that was great, but I was like, you just completely lifted the curtain in order to try and embarrass this man just because he was beating you in the disc battle or whatever. And I was like, to me, that felt like I don't know. To me, that seemed like it's like if you're competing art for art, right? It's like if you're having a rap battle, right? And somebody's killing you, so then you come back with I had sex with your baby mother. You know what I mean? Like it's like you're going off script and and taking too much of a low blow because you're getting killed, you're getting outshined in the art of it all, right? So to me, like I had no respect for Tiffany Stratton for doing that. The other side of this to me though is that, and I said this before, Charlotte brings that out of people.
Uh-huh.
She brings that out of people because like, and you can't deny it. Like we saw her literally get into a fist fight with Nia Jax in the ring because she goes so hard on people. Like so, part of that. I'm not saying I'm not victim blaming, right? Like I'm not saying she deserved it, but what I am saying is that when when you decide that the way you want to bring young people along is by putting your foot on their neck, eventually you're going to put your foot on the neck of the person who's going to come back and do something dirty and say you go low, I'm gonna go lower. And that's what happened. You know what I mean? Like and honestly at the end of it, everybody just comes out looking bad because to me in that moment, Charlotte is a super duper vet of situations, of arenas, of big moments, of all the things. And she shouldn't have been as shaken and phased by that moment as she was. Like she should have been able to overcome the booze. She should have been able to eat Tiffany's jabs and come back at her with something harder. Because again, it's like if we're here because you're just outshining me so hard, right? If you're like, oh, you're so great and I can't compare, if that's the reason why I feel like I need to go low on you, then when I go low, you need to show that you are who you say you are. So, like, I think, again, it's one of those things where um, nastiness begets nastiness. You know what I'm saying? So, like,
Mm.
Can I step in?
I
Can I
don't,
step in for a bit? Because
sure.
I'm a bit offended that you would even say this, that she should have taken the blows. I don't think any of us have the right to say that because we're not in that situation where, you've gotten married twice and you have two marriages that didn't go the route that you wanted it to go. And now this person, because you're using, you're at work and you're doing your job. And the problem is that she can't take it. So you're basically saying because she can't take it, she should have just stood there and let her use this. something that's super traumatic, super fresh, because she's a veteran, she should have taken it. I
No,
don't
no,
think
it's
any,
not. It's not. I'm not saying she should have just
I
taken
don't
it.
think that we as fans have the right to say that because we're not in her shoes. Like we're not. And
So
I don't know. You keep saying this all the time, and I'm not, and I'm gonna say I'm partly taping, and I'm gonna say at the end of the day, I don't know who Charlotte is. I can only see her actions of who she is as as she portrays herself in the media, in the public. This is the first time she's ever really spoken on interviews, doing podcasts, etc. So that means this feels like she's in her healing arc. And I think
right,
that folks really need to take heed and to really think about the speculations that they've had on her personality and on her character, because I don't think she is that type of person to basically please anybody within that industry, especially the women, especially how hard they have had it. They still worse women, regardless if I like Becky or not. All four of them have a very tough time. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And
hmm,
two out of the four really, really, really have struggled mentally, that we know
yeah,
of, right? And so
hmm,
for us to
Yep.
kind of like say, for us to say that she should have taken it from this little, like, basically mean girl, because that's what that was. Because you
right.
as an adult, she's not an adult. Because you as an adult would have said, whoever would have said, hey, okay, we think that you need to say this. You're the champion. Flex. I'm not saying that. That's super fresh. She just came out of an interview, letting us the world know that how incredibly heartbroken she is. Okay, like we had no. I was completely shocked and devastated for her when I heard like that they've been divorced for how long. When she showcased this man on all her socials. She was in People's Magazine less than a year. As a woman, to have had that happen after you plastered your whole life to the world, to have that happen to it, it's you can't say that because you don't know how that makes us feel. It really it pains me that you just said that.
So I would in no way minimize the impact of what she's going through personally. So I'm not doing that. I'm not minimizing, how she should feel about it. But what I'm saying is that she's the mean girl first. So if you're gonna
How do
lead
you
as a
know that?
vet,
How do you
if you're
know
gonna
that she's
lead
the
with
mean girl? How do you know it's not the job? How do you know it's not the job? And how do you equate her being mean is why she got to mind you, Ron,
well,
we
so
watched
so I
we
mean like
watched
so
Nia Jax be the biggest mean girl, the meanest girl on national television. And you're trying to tell me that she was a mean girl to Nia Jax? Are you serious right
I,
now?
I'm
You
saying
can't
that
be
I'm saying
serious.
I'm saying when you watch Charlotte Flair's matches, she is very rough with the girls. Very rough with like she smacked. Remember that match? I think she gave
Have
Kyrie Sane
you
a concussion,
watched
and she kept
and have
smacking
you
her
watched
around in that
Josie
match.
matches? Have you watched Josie matches?
No, but this
What are
WWE
we
they don't
talking
have
about?
Joshi matches.
Wallen. I'm gonna let
We're not
Susan
talking
come.
about we're not
I'm gonna
talking
let
about
Susan
Joshi
come for
matches. We're
you.
talking about
I'm gonna let Susan
I'm
come for
talking
you.
specifically about Charlotte Flair.
I'm here. Tag me in,
I'm
friend.
talking
Um,
specifically about Charlotte Flair. I've seen Charlotte Flair be very rough with her female competitors. She be kicking their ass in the matches sometimes, and she
okay,
did that with Nia Jax one time, and Nia came back at her, and
but
they were in a full blown fist fight on damn national TV. So my point was this. My
I
point.
completely get that. But are you really trying to equivalate in-ring work with someone throwing personal digs at you?
No,
Especially another thing, the reason why I said the whole thing was inappropriate from Tiffany Stratton is that you can put in Charlotte's name on the internet and get all the information about her previous marriages and what happened. Her previous situations, relationships, there was abuse allegations.
Hmm.
So you still throw that out there. That's a personal dagger that she is still lingering with those trauma and effects of that.
And
So you
I think
still
it's
throw that out
terrible
there.
to go there. I 100%
Right.
think it's terrible to
But
go
what I'm
there.
saying
But
is,
what I would
even
say is
with
this.
that, you cannot equivalate wrestling in ring work. We see plenty of dudes rough up people and be horrible in the ring, but that doesn't mean you go out there and say something like that. Especially the whole situation with her and Stratton didn't make any sense because Charlotte just came back. Why do you have this much venom and battery in your back for this woman that you have not even faced? It
I
made
mean, look, the whole
no
thing was
sense.
horrible storytelling, right? Like they botched every
Yeah,
bit of
but they
that
had no
storytelling.
story to begin to have that much venom to have that happen.
By the
That's
way,
what I'm
that's
saying.
exactly
It
what I
made no
said.
sense.
That there is no reason that they should have been
But she
going
shouldn't have
that low
took
with
it.
each other.
That's
But
personal
what I will
digs
say is,
and
so answer this question for me. Answer this
competition is
question
two
for me.
different things.
Here's a question: if Tiffany felt that Charlotte was being a good vet to her, do you think she takes those jabs?
I don't think she had the
Why
right to even, I don't think she
she
had the right as someone coming in, as a newbie coming in. I don't think she had the right to say what she did,
These
to
new
do
niggas
what
ain't
she
got no
did in the
morals.
ring.
okay, I got a better way. Explain it. Okay, so you work at your job, right?
I
You
do.
work at your job, you've been at your job for however long, right? Say somebody that just walked in there when they first hour at that job comes in there and tells you what to do and how you're bad at your job. Aren't you going to be offended?
It's
Mm.
not really apples to
That's
apples, but
exactly
sure, I
what
guess. Yes.
just happened. This woman just came back from having what could have been a career altering ending injury. We have never had any situation where we went one on one or had a feud prior. And the first time we get into a back and forth situation after I gave you a lashing on promo because I'm sitting there watching that this is who to put me against, and I'm not seeing where it actually is ready for me. You go personal, you go low for absolutely no reason. And Charlotte hadn't
And with
even
no
gone
real
that route with
delivery,
her.
and no real delivery, right? You can tell
Yeah.
she pulled it out the bag. She pulled it out the bag and didn't even deliver it in such a way that we would even think, hey, I mean, it begged to be like, wait, is she uncomfortable saying it because she is like she didn't feel comfortable saying it, or is she uncomfortable saying it because she's just throwing something in her face? Like
Yeah,
that's
I
what
mean,
that's
she
what it
just
came
wanted to
off
think of
as.
something nasty to say. She found something nasty to say. She dropped her line and
Yeah, but
rolled
that
out of the
was
ring.
like the
It was a
worst.
terrible segment. It was bad TV all the way around. It was not good. And
But
they
to
should
say
have.
that but to say that she should have taken it because she's sometimes a mean girl, that's the part that I don't
Yeah,
agree
that
with.
doesn't make sense to me.
What I'm
Because
saying
I've
is, if you don't, and don't get me wrong, I get what you're saying too. You're saying as a as a new person, sometimes you just gotta eat shit and like it, so they so to speak. But like, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I'm saying that if you're Charlotte Flair, if you are going to make it your point that this is the way I'm gonna be when you work with me, then you gotta in your mind know that somebody's gonna go low on you. You gotta know that's gonna come. No, you just
I
gotta
don't. I
expect that
don't. I
everybody's
absolutely,
don't.
just gonna fold up
absolutely
and let
don't.
you treat them however you want to.
No,
And
no.
No.
But that's the thing. The thing that is, I'm just curious as to why you think that this is who Charlotte Flair is. Because
it's not.
as men and
That's why I'm
women,
confused.
as men and women, we see things differently, completely differently. Okay. And I know that because my friend Justin, when we watch content, he sees things completely differently from what I see, especially with
Hmm.
this Love Island situation.
Okay.
He sees it completely differently, right?
Yep.
I watched
I
30
need
minutes of that show. I couldn't make it no further.
I so I'm 30 episodes in. I can't stop. I'm already invested. Like I gotta keep
We
going.
invested now.
It's too late. It's
Gotta
too
finish
late.
it.
We
It's like
gotta
a
finish
stock. We
it.
gotta see it through.
That's right. So I just need to understand because you brought in the Nia Jax situation. And
Yes.
that situation, I don't yo, I literally will never watch a Total Divas ever again because I loved Nia Jax
Hmm.
until I watched Total Divas and watch
Mm-hmm.
that girl be such a mean girl, be such
Mhm.
a hater, be such a jealous bitch. She was so jealous and admittedly said that she did the things that she was doing because she wasn't involved, because she
Yeah.
was injured, and for you to say that she deserved whatever she got. You don't even know what happened backstage for them to get to where
You're
they
right.
got.
I'm not but you're right though. You can only judge off what you see. And so again, just to go back to what I said, I'm just setting I'm just laying out the examples of times when Charlotte Flair has been what appears to my eyes to be, whether you want to call it stiff or unprofessional with like several people. And you can even bring in like, some of the Becky stuff, where they're supposed to do the belt
Read her
swap and they're
book.
throwing the belts on
Read
the
her
ground and
book.
like
Read.
all of that stuff.
You
Right.
need to read Becky Lynch's book,
I
and you
did. It
will
was
And
have,
very
that's not the
good.
and
first
you
time
will
Becky Lynch
have.
has encountered that ever. Seriously.
I read the
It's
book. The
not.
book was great. I enjoyed it. It was very good. And
And
I
you
thought she gave good insight on her relationship with Charlotte.
and you brought up the Kyrie
But you
situation.
still,
That was
but you still think this. But you still think this after you read that book. You walked away from that book thinking that Charlotte was at wrong. She
What
wasn't
what
wrong.
what was it in the book that made you feel like Becky was the one in the wrong?
What was in
I'm
the book?
just trying to go
What
ahead,
was in
Mimi.
the book is what makes me think that Becky was in the wrong. What was in the
I'm
book?
asking. So like, what was it in the, like? What was it that she said in the book that
I'll,
made you feel
you
like
know what? I'm gonna have to
what a
go
butthole?
into. I will go in. I will
Yeah,
clip it.
we
I will
we
clip
gonna
it
have
for
a
you.
book club,
That's right. I'm gonna clip it for you, and I'm gonna send it to you.
I mean, I
a
said send
wrestling
it
book
to me
club is a
too
great
because
idea. By the
I
way,
forgot about what the hell was in that book. We need some
I
evidence.
read it last summer.
a
I
wrestling
read it
book
last
club is a
summer.
fire ass idea.
I'll clip it and I'll send it to you both.
I'm
I
just
All right.
trying to figure out, is he letting what he sees on TV of how she works
And that's what I
perception
was
affect
that
gonna
his
she's a
say.
judgment.
mean girl?
And that's what I was gonna
That,
say real
okay,
quick because he brought up Kyrie, and that was a isolated situation. That was TLC where it was Charlotte and
yeah.
Becky versus Kyrie and Asuka, and that was where Kyrie got concussed, and I don't think Charlotte knew that she was concussed. But then when Becky found out that Kyrie was concussed, that's when Becky threw her under the ring. It was like, yeah, we're not. You're done. You're
She
done.
had to throw
Asuka's
her
gonna
under
go
the ring
two
because
v
Charlotte
one,
was still whooping her ass.
Because she didn't know.
but
Because
she
she
didn't
didn't
know.
know.
Fucked up.
Like you're missing that part. She doesn't know. She didn't know. I think a
So
lot of the slack that Charlotte gets, and I'll say this again, is because she's fucking good.
yes.
She's
So
good.
I try to operate with the philosophy judge actions, not people, right? So I'm not calling Charlotte names, but what I am saying is that in these in these situations of these actions, she repeatedly goes very hard on people. And if you eventually are going if you're going to work that way on the mic in the ring when it comes to the physicality or how how you just overbearingly drown people out in promos, if you're gonna work that way, eventually you're gonna come across somebody who's not just gonna take it. And that's all I'm saying. So I'm not saying that Tiffany had a right to do that, because I don't think she had a right to do it. I think it was absolute trash. And like again, I've said it so many times, I don't think there's much to Tiffany besides her boobs. Like you know what I mean? Like, oh, she does a very nice backflip. But like, other than that, like,
So that was
All
so
right, let's
manly.
put a bow on this because we do
Oh
got a
my,
lot of people that want to jump in on
Charlotte
here.
Hyde
oh
pulled up in here
God.
for real, friend.
Right? Oh my God.
We was
I
ready
heard
to
Oh,
boobs
fight.
and backflips, and I was like, "Yo, that sounds like a good podcast."
I can't. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about, Sierra. This the shit that
Yes.
I'm talking about with these. Oh my God.
I'm joking. I have to throw a joke in here because this is getting harsh. I see all of y'all requesting.
Yes,
We
let them
not
in. Let them in.
ignoring. Herman, you've been waiting for a minute. You up, my guy?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the whole thing about, the Tiffany, Charlotte, whatever. And I'll say this. The one thing I've noticed lately is that ageism has come up a lot in the women's division. I don't know if anyone's noticed this or not, but Becky's kind of talked about it. Charlotte's been talking about it because, she said, yeah, the women are looked at 39 years old like their careers are about to end. But yet you had Cody, who was champion at 39, and people are like, oh, yeah, you've still got, more years to go on him. There's a lot going on in that division, and especially when you've got these younger women coming up. And sometimes these promos do seem a little teeth clenching. I'll say that because, like, when I was watching Monday Night Raw and you had Becky, Bailey, and Lyra, and Lyra was basically saying at one point, I think she said, oh, I guess I have to go to Evolution to clean up two of the biggest mistakes I have ever made in my career. So, there's this hatred and animosity that they've kind of weaved into the story. And going back to the Charlotte Tiffany thing, we don't even know who went off script first because supposedly somebody went off script first, and that's when Tiffany flipped it. And in no way I'm defending Tiffany whatsoever. In no way I'm offending Charlotte. Both of them kind of flubbed that. They both fumbled it. So there's no good guy, bad guy in that situation. They both screwed it up. But the thing is, when people do that, most promoters will be like, okay, you guys want to do that? Go make me money.
Mm-hmm.
Any old school promoter would have done that. And, they were already set for a match anyway.
Yeah, they had a Mania match. It was solid. It could have been better, but wasn't shit.
Oh, wasn't as solid as that triple threat. And everybody knew that triple threat was going to clean house.
I mean, but that triple threat was you're talking about one of the greatest uh women's matches in WrestleMania history. That was a grand slam, dude.
Oh, just wait till we get Rhea and Bianca in a one-on-one match. Yeah, we have to at some point. We have to get Bianca and Rhea in a one-on-one.
Oh, that's coming at some point. That's a WrestleMania match if everything falls into place correctly.
Yeah, they've been teasing that one. A match I would like to see, and this doesn't involve women, but it's another match that we've barely maybe had one match between the two. Street Profits and New Day. Like, I don't know why we haven't had more matches between those two teams.
I mean, Corey could probably help me with this. If memory serves me correct, I think they purposely kept Street Profits and New Days on like opposite shows. I think that's probably why you haven't seen them intertwine as much because it's usually like Street Profits will be on SmackDown, New Days on Raw. You don't have a lot of cross rivalry with that. Am I right, Corey?
Yeah, I don't think they've ever been on the same brand at the same time, to be honest. I have to look and see, but I don't think they ever have been.
No,
And
I think the
probably
one. Oh, I'm sorry. I think one time they fought was like when they had Survivor Series where they had the tag team champs from Raw versus tag team champs from
yeah,
SmackDown.
that's probably the only time we ever got it, to be honest. If it ever
Right.
happened, that's probably it. And that probably would have been, what, 2020 maybe?
Yeah.
I thought it
Yeah.
was 2019 because I thought it was in front of a live crowd, but I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
nah, Profits weren't even up yet in 2019,
Yeah,
so
2019 they were still
that might,
NXT
but yeah,
Okay.
because
yeah.
they
No,
came up
my
during the
fault.
pandemic
Profits came up
because
probably late 2019, maybe.
no, they came up during the pandemic because they came up with Bianca. They came up same time.
Uh, I think the Profits
Yeah.
got the Nah. I think the Profits got the belts off of. Didn't they get them off of Seth and Buddy Murphy?
I
I think
swear
they
that
were up by the time
WrestleMania
the pandemic started.
36, aka the Pandemic Mania, they came same time.
Yeah, yeah, they were up. Yeah, so.
Hmm.
But no, he's right though. I don't know why they. I mean, that is the reason why they probably never fought.
There's so many matches they've planted seeds for already. Like when they had the short period of time when they had Lash and Jakara up, which of course Jakara's no longer there, but when they had them against Jade Cargill and Bianca, and they had like a stare down between Lash and Jade, I said at that point, I'm like, they need to get these two in the ring.
Yeah, I still have hope for that one. I think that happens at some point.
Well, I mean, it should. I mean, Lash is what, like 27 years old, and probably has about the same skill level that Jade has right now. Maybe slightly better. I don't know, but to be that age, to be going that quick.
No, thank you though. I appreciate it, man. That was good. Justin, somebody else in queue.
Yep, Monet, then Bill Bixby. Monet, you up?
Thanks, Herman. Appreciate you.
Hi.
Hello.
Can y'all hear? Oh, okay. Hi. Um, I I wanted to speak on the Charlotte thing a little bit.
Floor is
I'm
yours.
gonna be real. I'm gonna be real. I think they're both wrong. In my opinion, like I think it was. I get like Charlotte, and I feel bad because I don't feel like. Oh, the echo thing. Um, I don't feel like Tiffany should have went that low. I feel like I think that's definitely the lowest point, and I think she shouldn't have done that. And I think that was definitely wrong. But I don't think you also can excuse Charlotte for like. I don't think you can like hide by the fact that like she did what she did behind the fact that she's a veteran and basically excusing it by basically being like, oh well, she can do what she wants. And I feel like you can't do that because in that original segment, Charlotte wasn't really like being a good veteran to Tiffany. It wasn't like, oh, she was like testing her in a good way. Like Charlotte was bulldozing over her. Like she wouldn't even let her say anything. Like that's not being a good veteran to people. Being a good veteran is someone like Becky, where Becky will like test you and like put you in the deep waters, but like she still gives you your opportunity to like shine. And it's like you either sink or you swim. And like that's it. And it's like I don't feel like Charlotte did that for Tiffany. And also, and it even came out in the segment where Tiffany did say what she said. Charlotte was the one who went off script first. And again, like I said, Tiffany was wrong. Like she was the wrongest for saying what she said. And
Monet,
I feel bad for Charlotte because like I feel like that like I feel bad for Charlotte because like yes, like that was such a first ruin and she shouldn't have said that. But I feel like they're both wrong. Like I feel like you
Monet,
can't. Yes,
Monet, quick question. So that segment, that was one segment, right? That was one segment that whole situation, just that ugly situation happened, right?
it was both of them.
And then
It was
no, no,
both.
no. I'm asking if was that one segment that was that really horrible segment. Then the week before, she had two. Did she have one segment in the ring that was super terrible where everybody she got exposed that she couldn't even keep up? And then she went split screen, and that's when Charlotte bulldozed her.
I think
She
this.
bulldozed her during the split screen. So she gave her two
I know
opportunities.
that's what I was talking about. The split screen when
Right,
like
but that was one incident is my point. That was
no,
one incident when they were going back and forth twice before and she couldn't keep up. So
okay,
at
that's
this
right.
point,
But that's not what I'm saying though. I'm just saying even the split screen to me was the worst thing because like Charlotte just wasn't letting her
that was the
talk.
worst
I
thing.
don't know, but what I'm saying is like how is that effective for Charlotte as a veteran to create? And the thing is like
It's
they don't,
one,
you know, but
but here's what I'm trying to explain to you. It was a trajectory. It's not like that was the first time her and Charlotte came neck and neck in a promo. They tried it twice in person. Then they said, you know what? Because this is how my brain is wired. I'm like, you know what? They're trying to do a split screen to see if she can keep up instead of being in front of the crowd and give her her comfort zone. She couldn't even do it then. She clearly was reading a script because
Hmm.
wasn't even off the cuff. And then they brought her back into the ring, and that's what she does. So I don't understand how Charlotte bulldozed her when
I'm
she had three consecutive promos with this veteran, and by the third time, you should have gotten it.
okay. I'm only talking about the split screen in the in segment.
And I'm saying that
The
that's
only reason
probably
I'm
not
saying
fair.
the only reason I'm only talking about is because personally, right now, I don't remember the other two segments. Like I
Hmm.
have to go back and watch. So I'm like, that's why I'm not really trying to like speak on it. I'm just saying, I think the split screen to me was the most memorable though, is because Charlotte like was literally like Tiffany was trying to like say her lines like and then Charlotte's just like talking over her and you could definitely tell like Charlotte was and it even came out like Charlotte was going off script and just talking over her and that to me was like really like the issue is
And
like
here's another thing. I don't mean to
the
cut you
reason
off.
I'm
And
saying
here's I don't mean to cut you off because these things are coming into my head. When they do a split screen, sometimes the split screen is not timed properly. So that probably wasn't live. That's another thing. It probably wasn't live. Charlotte's was probably recorded, and she couldn't get her what she couldn't even do it that way. So my point is Tiffany was exposed so many times. I think that was her defense. I can't believe that people would think that that split screen was the worst of all of it.
Okay, well, I'm
But
still saying though, at the end
to
of the day,
his own.
like you're still supposed to be trying to create entertain. In my opinion, they're just both wrong because even if you don't talk about the split screen and don't talk, at the end of the day, it's like even in the segment where Tiffany did say she said Charlotte still was the one, and it was said Charlotte went off script first. Tiffany, what she said was wrong, and I'm not gonna excuse her for that. She should take accountability for that. People have a right. I'm not even saying people should like bash Tiffany. I'm just saying it's like hold her accountable, yes, right? Because it's like, yes, that was wrong, and that was too low, and that was very disrespectful. But in the day, it's like Charlotte still, they were both wrong, and I get it. Like Charlotte, I get like it hurt her feelings, like and that sucks because it was like very very wrong. But in the day, it's like Tiffany's also a person, and she has feelings, and I'm not trying to excuse her for what she was saying, but they were both wrong. They were both wrong. Like that program sucked, and they both were not benefiting each other whatsoever. They were both wrong. Tiffany, yes, should be held the most accountable because that line was too low. Like that was too low, and she should have said something totally different. Like that was a fresh room, and you shouldn't have said that. But it's like they're both wrong. I don't think you should be like excusing Charlotte or like excusing Tiffany. Nobody should be excusing this situation. They were both wrong. Neither one of them should have did what they did. Nobody should have went off script. Nobody should have been saying all these crazy things. But like, just stay on script. Your program wasn't entertaining anyway. That's the worst part about it. They had freaking I want to swear so bad.
I mean,
But
go
like
for it.
the
Ain't like we got a
program as a
censor
whole,
tag.
the program as a whole sucked. It's like none of it was entertaining. So just stick to the script and do your job. It's like, and also I would say this too. It's like you can definitely tell, like even as the weeks went on, it's like they're not very fond with each other. So it's like, why are we doing all this, bro? Like just get them handy at that point. It's like that's why I'm like they're both wrong. Again, Tiffany should be held the most accountable because yes, that was the first one, and you shouldn't have touched on that. And it's from a human being perspective, like from a moral perspective, like that was wrong. But also, in my opinion, they were both wrong. I think Charlotte was the least wrong in the situation, but they were both wrong. And I don't think
Hmm.
Should be fully excused either. I think that's my point. It's like I don't think you can fully excuse either one of them because I think this situation as a whole could have just been handled better across the board from like because I feel like if Charlotte has some issues with a couple things and felt like maybe Tiffany was there, okay, then as a veteran, then yes, maybe work with her a little bit more. And I think if Tiffany had her issues with things that Charlotte did, I think she should have been spoken for. There just should have been better communication across the board. And I don't think you would have ever ended up at that point. And that's why I think they're both wrong because I think it's a communication issue. And I think it was just a lot of hurt feelings just leading up to that moment anyway. And I just think, I don't know, I think and maybe even the company could have stepped in some kind of way or whatever. I just think everybody in that situation was just wrong because I think it could have just been handled in its entirety, like just better. It just the
Hmm.
whole thing could have been handled better. And I like I said, I really do feel bad for Charlotte because like she did have such a rough year. And I don't think anybody should be like subjected to that like in that kind of moment, especially because it is still like
Right.
so fresh for her. Like they're all, but like I said, I think they're all wrong. I think there's just a
Hmm.
whole bunch of hurt feelings, and I think they should have been. And I'm not even gonna excuse Tiffany. I think like I'm not gonna excuse. I'm younger than Tiffany, but like even I understand it's like you're taught like use your voice. Like use your voice if you feel some kind of way, but don't do it in that way. Like and
Right.
like don't do it in that way. Like that's not the kind of situation you do that in. Again, like use your voice, communicate. Not saying like be like, oh, I'm not, gonna do this or that, and I'm not gonna let you walk over. Like, no, but like Charlotte, I don't, and I'm not saying like Charlotte wanted Tiffany to fail either, because I do think she wanted her to succeed, and that's why I'm kind of like, I don't know, maybe Tiffany was a little bit nervous about it. I don't know, but like, I don't know. I just think that it just could have been better communication all around from both of them.
Hmm.
And if the company felt like there was something, I guess sometimes they want to try to like fuel it a little bit to try to make the program better. But like I said, their program sucked. So it's like you're just making two people
Right.
probably have a little bit more disdain for each other. And it's just like it didn't work out in it. And the Mania match wasn't even good enough for them to be doing all that anyway. So it's just like it's just it was just bad. Like all of it was just bad. It was just too much, and communication is very much so key in those kind of situations. And I think it just felt like the company in some ways were trying to fan the flames a little bit, and it was just communication and just trying. It was just bad. It was just all
Hmm.
of it was just wrong. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
okay, I'm done now.
Do you feel better now?
I felt a little bit better.
Good. Well,
Let's do Megs and then we'll do Bill Vixie.
all right.
Okay. I just wanted to, because people keep saying that Charlotte went off script, and I'm trying to figure out how.
Yeah.
How did she go off script? I think I think it just feeds into what Tiffany did by giving her an excuse. Like, well, Tiffany wouldn't have done this if Charlotte didn't do that. Well, what
They
was
did
it that
this
Charlotte
exactly.
do? You
Right.
know, Charlotte did what any heel. I think that's what people forget in this whole situation. Charlotte is the heel. John Cena is a heel, and he's not holding back on anything that
Right.
he is saying. Gunther is a well, I don't know. Is he a heel now? I don't know.
Well, he's
But
an
He's a
anomaly.
heel. We're just this whole
We just don't know
Goldberg
what's
shit
going
is.
on with him.
Ugh.
okay, because Goldberg is a I don't like
Yeah.
Goldberg, so I'm rooting
I
for
really want
Gunther.
to talk about
You
that,
know,
but go ahead,
but even
because y'all ain't
then,
gonna
when
like
he
what I
was
gotta
going
say.
up against Jay, he was a heel. He did not hold back. That is what Charlotte is doing. That's what she was doing. It is a man and woman type of thing. They want women to be girls, girls. Charlotte was doing her job. Charlotte was putting belt to ass. That's what she was
Right.
doing. That's what she was doing. And if I remember Tiffany on NXT, she was, you know, she I'm gonna tell you what it was that pissed Tiffany off. When Charlotte told her, "You think with your blonde hair and your backflip, you're like me, you're not." That's what pissed Tiffany off. Because I think Tiffany looked up to Charlotte. I think that she liked the comparisons to Charlotte. And for your, I would maybe I'm assuming by saying idol, but for your idol to come up and say, "You're not like me,"
But you're still working. So why would she even take
yeah.
that personal? That's
Well,
that's
and
where I can't reconcile.
you know, it has a lot to do with certain upbringings because and maybe everyone in the chat can agree with me, but growing up I was always told to respect my elders, even if I
Hmm.
didn't appreciate or like what they said. You never
Hmm.
let you never let what you think come out your mouth. And
Right.
I didn't understand that as a kid, but I knew to do as I was told. And now that I am older, because I'm only a year younger than Charlotte, I have to
Don't have to.
instill that as
Yeah,
well.
that's
Like I
right.
had to,
That's
like
right.
I'm older than you, so you know you want to talk to me a certain way, and there was a lack of respect for Charlotte from Tiffany at that moment, and I think it had a lot to do with her going online, seeing how people was kind of saying how Charlotte kind of went off on her and how she went off script and
And she used
you're
it to her advantage.
and she did. And so this is why it's like Charlotte has been a punching bag for people
Hmm.
for a while now, even when it comes down to her colleagues, and
Hmm.
you should feel safe where you work at
That's
because
right.
you're with those people all the time. The fans is going to
Hmm.
say whatever they're going to say because some of them are just a bunch of creeps behind a keyboard. They're not really going to say that to your face. But for your colleague, someone who says they look up to you, someone who says that their career stems from you in some sort of way, to say that
Right.
to you in your face in front of all those people and kind of get a rise off of it, and then on top of that your boyfriend kind of wants to get involved, which he really shouldn't have. Despite what Charlotte said, he should have stayed out of it. He really should have,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
he added on to that. And honestly, like I said, the way I grew up, Andrade should have had ran up on him. I don't know. He should have went up
Yep.
on him and just
Regardless
said,
of what happened, he should have.
"Hey,
Yep.
this is women's business. You don't need to get
I'm
involved."
sure
I
he
know she
did.
dropped.
I'm sure he did. I'm probably sure he did because I feel like Andrade is trying to stay in good graces. I
Yeah,
truly because they would have split them if it was bad. They would have split them up, and
yeah,
they haven't split them up.
no,
So yeah.
yeah. So I just, because I keep seeing a lot of people saying that Charlotte went off script. Dave Meltzer started that BS. He never
Hmm.
went into detail on how she went off script. Which I take everything he says with a
I'm
grain of
about to say,
salt
notice how it's
anyway.
Right.
Meltzer and what you lost me at Meltzer.
Yeah,
Right.
like no one takes what he says seriously anyway, but it kind of people took it and ran with it. And I think
Hmm.
it does have a lot to do with Tiffany seeing things online. She didn't like it. It made her look
She's
bad.
young. She's young.
And we all was her age too,
I didn't act like this.
but like my mama said, I was your age, you was never mine.
Right.
And you got to walk down that aisle first before you bring up my three failed marriages, because you haven't been married not once.
One time,
Ooh, and I
You
ooped.
know,
not
so
once. Mm.
and marriages ain't easy.
It's
If
not.
you could get
It's
this
not.
guy to propose to you, because Carmelo and Kalani is engaged, you're not. So
Right, right,
you know,
right.
all right. So I'm just saying, if
and we
you
know,
let's
and we
get
know lashing up is coming because
all
they done
right.
bought the crib
They done
already.
bought the
Okay,
house,
so
So get the ring
so
first. Get the ring
okay.
first before you try to throw it up in this woman's face, knowing her ex-husband is backstage, probably trying to figure out
What the
why.
fuck just happened?
Yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so go ahead,
Yeah.
Trinity, go and take that belt. Go and take that belt
Right, right, right.
and be the champion that we
Exactly.
need.
And do it
Okay,
for your girl. Do it for your girl.
be the
Do it for
champion
your
that we
girl.
need. Exactly. All right.
Bill Bixby.
What's
Thanks,
going
Names.
on? What's going on, everybody?
What's
Thanks for
going
waiting.
on?
Yep.
No problem. First, I don't think Mimi's going to yell at me today with my points. But first things first, I was going to visit
I
my
about to
sister in
say,
Atlanta. I went to
don't test
Evolution.
her. She's in rare form today.
Oh, I left her alone today. Hey, I'm good today. First, because I was going to visit my sister in Atlanta, go for Evolution tickets. I looked 2 weeks
Hmm.
ago. Evolution and Saturday night's main events are actually priced like going to Monday Night Raw. And so those tickets are not expensive at all for
Hmm.
Evolution and Saturday Night main event. So when people start talking about
That's my
ticket prices, tell them
point.
to go to Ticketmaster. So folks, don't let Meltzer, who sounds like the guy who walks around with the sign in the summertime saying the rapture is coming. That's who he reminds me of. Uh, but first things first, about the Charlotte thing. First, me and my buddy read the piece. We joked and said she proved our point that hey, she liked the black girls more than the white girls because she be sandbagging on white girls sometimes. I be joking around with that. And those black girls, she turned up. Uh, but but the thing is, with that Tiffany thing, everybody talking about, we don't know what these folks went off script because we don't have the script. But we know this for certain. What Tiffany said was low, and it was so fresh in
Hmm.
somebody's mind because
Yep.
all of us on this line been heartbroken before, and
Oh,
sometimes it's
Jesus.
embarrassing,
Hmm.
and it takes time to get over that. Because I remember when she first got called up, Charlotte, and Paige used lying about her brother, but they
Hmm.
probably cleared that with her, and it was a couple of years since he passed away, and
Right.
but it also exposed that Tiffany is not ready for everything that comes with that spot.
Hmm.
Uh, it's it's more than just the wrestling. And I will always point out to that promo battle that Charlotte and Bianca had. And Charlotte try to say something. Bianca bucked up at her, no low blows. And Charlotte gave that, well, damn,
That's
look,
right. That's right. You remember that? You remember
yep,
that?
I got it
Which
on my phone
which
still.
one is that? The NXT one or the SmackDown one?
SmackDown. SmackDown. Because Bianca straight told Charlotte, I'm the longest reigning women's champion of the modern era, supposed to respect to my name, and dropped the
Mm,
mic on Charlotte. And
mm,
Charlotte was like, well, damn.
okay, 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 sis.
Hmm.
Yup.
Yeah. That's how a top act acts. That's how a top act responds to stuff. And I still say Bianca is so good that she's taken for granted. But that low blow, you can't say that because the office looks at that too. Because guess what, guys?
They don't look at
You
that,
are represent.
Bill. They don't
Oh,
care.
so, yeah,
They don't
no,
care.
but
It's a reaction. They don't care. Trust.
yeah, but one thing I would say is that her. When I saw Tiffany, I just believe that she's not ready for it. And I saw the match at Mania, I was like, I don't know. And then I seen her since. I just don't think she's ready for that spot. Because you get
She's not.
flustered, and I'm not knocking her on that because it's her first time as champion. Usually your second time is when you hit it because you learn from your first time.
Right.
But sometimes some things sound good on paper, but it may not be good when it comes out. And
That's right.
and I think with that, and what people don't realize, yeah, they may be wrestlers, but they're still human beings. So
Hmm.
sometimes things may trigger you as a person. And
Hmm.
and let's be real. That is embarrassing when everybody knows you've been divorced 3 times. Like the one lady said, she had some abuse a couple times, and that's embarrassing talking about too. And because you don't want your business out there. So I think Andrade wants his business out there either. you
Right.
know, and I ain't knocking anybody like that, but I just think that with that article she wrote, and I love the fact when she talked about Bianca in there too, and you taught her main match with Sasha, and like how she talked about how she see black girls looking up to Bianca and watching her, and I think seeing her, and like one thing also with the NXT, the NIL program has done, because I remember I'm old enough to remember that it was like entering a secret society to become a wrestler. Now you got more avenues to get in, because a lot of people didn't know how to get in. Now these people know how to get in, and I always use Bianca because I believe she's the first black woman I've seen in my 40 years of watching wrestling who's really the top woman.
Consistent.
Yep, she's a consistent top woman. No matter how these Anglo-Saxons want to say Rhea Ripley or Io Sky, anybody like that, it's Bianca. And I think that when you see that, it's like the black quarterback in the NFL, where you got teams now saying, I don't care, man, I want a black guy number one, he's the best guy. And I believe you're going to see that now in the years to come. And you're seeing it now with some of these women saying she's their favorite, she's their one. And I think, and that's what Charlotte said, and I say this because I know it's almost time, I think the Evolution card is going to be fine. There's going to be some good matches there. And my thing is, I want it to be a day, like a WrestleMania. If there's 6 matches a night, 6 matches both those nights, it should be 3 and 3. I think that's the win also. And I do think some of these women should main event. And I say this, I forgot to say this. When Charlotte said the age part, my thing is, these young girls coming up need some vets on the roster. You need those vets to show you how to be a pro, how to move, what to do in the ring. And I look at it like
vets. They're young vets.
Yes. They've been around the block. I look at it like Serena Williams. I think she just retired like a year or so ago. She's in her early 40s. I'm like this, go as long as you can. Because it is hard to find men and women who are over. And you can look at the money Charlotte can still make with a Bianca or Naomi match, because that was Naomi's best match she had with Charlotte.
That's right. That's right.
You can have a Lash Legend in there because Charlotte loves the black girls, like I said. So you can watch. You got people to work with, and like Becky, hope she stays at Intercontinental like that. Bailey really wants to help people, and I think that you use those veterans. Not saying they got to be the world champion, but they still should be consistent on TV, working the upper echelon of the younger women. And those are the best indicators to see someone is ready. It ain't Tiffany Stratton wrestling live by Carrie that says she's ready. It's Tiffany and Charlotte to see if she's ready.
I mean, for the longest time, that was Natty's job, because Natty was when Charlotte and Becky and Sasha and Bailey, like when all them came up, you got fed to Natty, and Natty was the measuring stick of, can you hang on the main roster?
Right. And I think with Charlotte, the way hanging is promos also. Because promos sell the match, because ain't no one bought, not too many people buy a ticket to see a 5-star match. Many people get drawn in by the story, a lot of cases. And so that's what Charlotte's test is, because Rhea got better at that against Charlotte the second time around.
She did. She's even better. She's even a little better now, although I think she's getting a little lazy. But I think she's better now. She's definitely much better now. She's maintained her stardom. But I think she needs to still step it up. She still needs to stay, keep that fresh. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I'll say this. If Bianca's medically clear, I think she's winning the Battle Royal. Because I think Naomi's cashing in either Sunday or at SummerSlam. And that's in a France match, because that feud kind of been held up because of Bianca's injury. And like, so, but that's cool though, because you still got stuff to flesh out. And I know Anglo-Saxons love saying that Bianca always in the title picture, even though WrestleMania was her first one-on-one title match since 2023. Let's not let propaganda get in the way of facts. But I'll say this, and I'm out of here. And I speak on this as black women, and every black woman, corporate America, know what I'm getting at. They like you when you working behind the scenes or working the front desk. But once you reach the top, they don't like that. They
Nope.
don't like that because they love Bianca in that tag team. Boy, but as soon as she got that title shot again, well, she's always in the title picture. You notice that?
Yeah, and she hasn't been in the title picture in a long time.
And got those tag titles over.
They
And
did.
so
They did.
and made Lash Legend and Shakara Jackson look good. Hurt the match, especially one with Naomi they
Yeah.
had. And
Yeah.
so she's bringing people up also.
That's
And,
right.
and and I think that's the sign of a top gal that you could have her do all the ambassador work, could put on great matches, could talk her butt off, and be a great representation without having to sexualize herself, even though she's
Yeah.
gorgeous. And I think that's an extra pressure on black women as well, that she doesn't have to sexualize herself. She just shows
That's
up
right.
as is. And I think
Mm-hmm.
and being college educated with a solid brother in her corner who ain't jealous of her at all, even though she's at the
That's right.
highest part, that is a great example because my sister, when I showed her that clip from the Big Three at WrestleMania, she cried because my sister's in corporate America. She's like the only black person in her section. And,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so she felt what that meant, and she doesn't even watch wrestling. So I think that a lot of times that imagery could travel a long way and possibly build new fans. But hey, you
Right.
guys have a good one. You guys take it easy. And I
Thank
might actually
you.
watch Love Island because I be seeing your tweets.
Well, you just I let me add we gonna wrap it up. I think I feel like
Hold on,
Corey wanted
we
to
gotta
say
let
something.
backstage in because he's been waiting for like a good half hour. This been one of them days. Everyone trying to jump on.
But here's one thing I want to say before you hop on backstage. Don't Bianca and Tez remind you of Ace and Shelly?
I never watched it. Hey,
I understood that reference.
I see it.
but hey,
Just a
but you
smaller, just the Ace and Shelley is like the Oompa Loompa version of Bianca and Tez.
but you guys take it easy, man. You guys have a good
Thank
one.
you.
Now,
Thank
now I
you.
just want them to stand next to each other. And just Bianca and Tez be like, we could just eat you right now or bench press you.
Oh my God.
Lord have
Sorry.
mercy.
The best.
Backstage.
Hey, what's up, y'all? First off, I want to say I understood the reference. Second
There you
of all,
go.
I understood the reference. Second of
Uh,
all, nah, like everything everybody said, like I kind of definitely agree with, especially as it regards to Tiffany. I do feel like Charlotte was in a very vulnerable situation in terms of what happened. It shouldn't have happened, but since the company, when you get a reaction, they're not necessarily going to pay too much attention to it. It's just unfortunate on Charlotte's side. That should have never happened, but now that it happened, we're at this position right now. I do think that Charlotte has pivoted and kind of like, recovered. I love the fact that she kind of released the Players Tribune article. I think I kind of posted something this morning that said like I do think wrestlers should post a lot more of their personal journeys on the
Yes.
Players Tribune because it definitely would help in terms of having the fans know them a little bit more rather than what you just see on TV. And
Or speculate.
or yeah, to speculate because you don't. The last thing you'd want is Meltzer basically being the voice of reason in any type of criticism or any type of like dialogue that happens with super.
Mm-hmm.
You want them to kind
Mm-hmm.
of have their own narrative now with especially with these athletes having these podcasts or platforms to tell their story in terms of who they are. I do think that this could be a huge avenue for all wrestlers to definitely say that. I mean, like after reading Big E's Players Tribune article last year, I do think this could definitely be a beginning conduit for a lot of these wrestlers to do so, to basically tell their story. Because, and I do agree, like you see Cody, who's basically who just turned 40, becoming the champion, in WWE. It does not negate, people who are, of that age to do that. You see Randy Orton just turned 45. I don't think the age has anything to do with what your passion is.
Mm-hmm.
You have something that you are passionate about and you're still good enough to do so, go do it. LeBron James is still playing at 40. He'll be 41 in December. Trish Stratus this Sunday will be competing for the championship against Tiffany Stratton, and she's 49 years old. She'll be 50 in December. I don't think you should handicap women because they should want to continue something that they're passionate about despite their age, and because modern medicine has people living longer and looking younger despite their.
Mm-hmm.
I do think they should continue that avenue. And Charlotte, she still has a lot of wrestling in front of her, and I do think that
Yeah.
this article is a great look to see how she begins to separate her legacy away from her father's, and she's done a great job of doing that. That's one.
She has. She has. I feel like you can't even compare the two because I think she surpassed her dad.
Exactly. So I feel like she's put herself in her own pedestal, which is great because she's made the Flair name in a way her own in this generation now, where it's almost like you almost forgot the fact that
Yep.
Nature Boy had his own career. And then when you look at the evolution, I do feel like it should have been fleshed out better when the pay per view came about. I'm pretty sure the ladies will definitely go out and kill. And I do agree, you do need vets that are there now, like a Becky, like a Charlotte, like a Natty who was the measuring stick before, and now she's killing them these and doing what she's doing right now, and I'm happy for her. You do need those vets to bring up these younger talent because, as you can see with NXT, these talents are younger and younger. They're going to need people in the
Hmm.
locker room in the ways of the old era where Taker was that measuring stick in the locker room. You're gonna need a Charlotte, you're gonna need a Becky, you're gonna need a Bailey in that locker room to show these young women how to move forward. And Naomi to an extent as well, because Naomi's been there for over 10 plus years if you exclude the time she was
Yep.
TNA. So
Hmm.
have this opportunity for them to kind of display probably the best generation of women's wrestling that we've seen across the board, and that's not just in WWE. That's universal, and I
Hmm.
that with that trend, this can definitely be something that even oversees the men because at least if you look 5 years down the line, if you exclude all the main event talents from the male's perspective, the women have much of a better opportunity of being higher on the show because they have more stars under their belt at that in this generation as it goes further on, like you're going to see more women at the top. You're probably going to see more main events of pay-per-view PLEs with the women because there are more stars that showcase that people want to see them you know to tell their story and go at it in the ring, and it's a great time for
Hmm.
that you know,
Hmm.
amongst other,
Hmm.
listen, as far as the men goes, listen, the men are the men, you can tell what's going on, but I'm more intrigued of what's going on with the women because there's a potential there that can definitely be some of the best stuff that fans can watch, and especially for representation for young girls that are coming up. This is the best time to be a fan now because now more and more and more young women are coming into this craft, and I'm happy to see it. And if Charlotte's going to be the
Yep.
one to lead the school, be the leader of the new school going in the future, I'm all for it. I do think that Tiffany does need to grow up a little bit, but that comes with time. You messed up, you screwed up, that does come with time. You're gonna
Hmm.
so you're gonna make your mistake, but you're gonna have to move on and pivot. But
Yep.
right now, what I'm seeing right now, I do think that Naomi, hopefully hopefully Naomi does win the championship soon, so that we can definitely get the triple threat feud between her, Jade, and Bianca because I know that story is still it has enough to
Brewing.
carry
Hmm.
until WrestleMania, and I love the fact that she's in this pocket of her career right now. Jade is the queen of the ring right now. SummerSlam is going to be fun. I can't wait to see how it unfolds because right now some of the best stories on TV right now that I'm more intrigued in is the women. To be honest with you.
Yeah. Yep.
And this is a great time for them to continue to showcase that they're just as badass. It's almost like how the WM like looking at other sports, you look at the WNBA, like they have supplanted their flag and saying we're here now. You ain't got to worry about this
That's right.
anymore, and they're doing their thing. Shout out to
Hmm.
Rescue and the New York Liberty, but it's
Hmm.
you feel me, Justin. So
I mean, there's a hell of a season right now in the WNBA. We haven't even hit the bulk of like the great games, and it's just like top to bottom, like the league's much better than it was like a year or two ago.
and I'm just happy.
Hmm.
I'm happy that the fact that we're getting the Cleveland Rockers back and we're getting certain franchises back for them because they need it in the best of ways. And just like I see in wrestling, like people can say a lot about Mercedes Moné and what she's doing right now, but her name is definitely featured. What she's doing right now, whether you love it or you hate it, she's doing something that's unprecedented in the culture of women's wrestling domestically here in America. And I
That match is the reason I'm watching All In. Like that, they built the hell out of Mercedes and Tony. That's going to be a fantastic match. Like I honestly don't care about the rest of that card. I know they're going to put on great matches, but that Mercedes and Tony, they did an excellent fucking job building that.
yeah, so like for me, looking at how the landscape of women's wrestling is, yes, there's issues in terms, especially with Tiffany. But there's so much good going on right now, and I completely agree with Mimi. I think Rhea, I won't say she's lazy. I just do think what she's been given, she's been complacent, and I do think if you give her something to sink her teeth into, she'll lock back in like it's nothing. Because I know they're gonna delay that Bianca match because she's in this program with Naomi and Jade. But when they unlock that to see who's the best between the two biggest NXT standouts, I'm gonna be excited to see. And of course, I do think Charlotte and Bianca does deserve that true 1v1 fade down the road because she's already beaten two of the horsewomen, I think three with Bailey. So there's only one left that she hasn't really like stuck away with.
So what? So what have she's been on TV? Rhea's been on TV prominently, right?
Yeah, she's been on TV prominently. So I
Yep.
think
So what are they not giving her that like I'm because she's on TV prominently. So you're saying if they give her something, maybe she can sink her teeth into. I think when they give you something, regardless of what they give you, you make it for what it
no,
is.
you're right.
And that's why I say she's lazy. That's why I say she's like you said, she's become complacent.
Yeah, because like
I think she's just phoning it in right now. And that could be a bad thing.
it's a bad thing, but it's also what they've been giving her because of whatever the direction of what they see in terms of their current main champion. Because you're not going to order to the Intercontinental scene. You know, right now Io's doing her thing in terms of whomever is going to be her next competitor. It could be Rhea, it could be somebody else, but the way it's being perceived right now, she can't beat Io. That's a story. There's a story right.
I'm not talking about her being in the on the main on in the main event scene. I'm talking about when they give you something, you kill that storyline and you don't phone it
No,
in.
not
That's what I'm talking about.
from that standpoint. That's
So
fair.
hmm
That,
yeah, that's what I mean.
And
that's
to be
fair.
honest, post Mania, Rhea's been on TV more than Io has.
That
Like
That's right.
they've
And it
prominently
feels
made sure Rhea's
very,
on TV compared to Io, and Io's the champion.
her and Raquel killed.
and she's skating.
Her and Raquel
Hmm
they killed it. If there was a reminder that Rhea Ripley's still her, like you got to check back that match that happened at you know in Jet.
I'm not talking about the matches. I'm talking about her promos. It all has to come all together. You can be great in the
In the
ring,
ring,
right? But
right?
it's the
But it's the
stories that you
stories that you
tell.
tell.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true.
And right
And right
now, I
now,
feel
I feel
like
like
she's just
she's
reading
just
the
reading the
script.
script.
Yeah, the summer months when
There's someone much more.
it just
Who's
what
what is
What
this
is this
feedback?
feedback?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Like I hear the playback too, but it's some of the months when you're watching wrestling where you're gonna have your ebbs and flows. So
Yeah.
hopefully when there's an uptick going into SummerSlam, you'll see more in terms of what Rhea is on the mic and then because I think Liv's injury had a lot to do with it. You know, not
No, that's what I'm trying to say. Like I'm trying to what I'm trying to help you understand is regardless of what the situation is you're given, she's still on TV. Regardless of Liv being not around. I don't think that Liv being not around should be an excuse. Liv being not around, we need to pivot, and this is the new pivot. Now they're giving you the script. It's your job to blow it up. She's not blowing it up. I'm not saying that she can't be good on the mic because she's gotten light years better on the mic, but she's sticking to the script right now. It feels like I don't see, and that's why I've kind of stepped away a little bit because I'm not. I feel like there's pockets of good things, and I just don't want to see good wrestling in the ring. I want to see more than
you
that,
want to see the whole.
and I feel like that's right. And on the main roster, I'm just I'm watching and I'm really not watching. Like I said, you know what? Let me just step away for a little bit. Don't watch it at all. Watch a couple of clips here and there. I was completely shocked at that Roxanne um um Kyrie Zane match yesterday. I couldn't believe that clip that I watched. I was like, what is this that I'm watching? Because I know that these two are not, this is not who they are. So I don't know what happened with that match.
It's not.
Um, but it looked awful. And then when I think the last time I watched the beginning of Raw was she kicked off Raw last week, Rhea, I was just like, okay. And I don't remember what she said after that.
Not for you. I feel you just want her to pick it up. You know, she has every.
Yeah, she can pick it up. She can.
You want her to pick it up. Not I feel you.
Hmm
You know, because the best thing right now, at least for me in WWE right now, is the women in the wrestling right now. So like I'm really like focused on that. And Naomi,
Yep.
the fact that she's been killing it. I can't be more
Mm-hmm.
proud of Naomi right now or happy for
Oh my God.
her right now. Like, and,
Oh my God.
like outside of like, like she's really, really killing it. And I can't wait for Bianca to come back to kind of make this story whole because that's one story that I can't wait to really begin like unfolding because there's so much to tell
Mm-hmm.
with those three ladies. And however Naomi gets the title, whomever, like, whether it's, she catches it on Jade, you know, however it's gonna happen, I just can't
Yep.
wait for how it all unfolds and how it's told, so that when they do go their merry way, like the payoff is gonna be great for all three.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Was that the benediction?
I think that was the benediction. I mean, everyone had a lot of thoughts today. We were just letting you guys get these takes off.
This was a great show. Thank you so much.
I was trying to moderate. Y'all really brought it today, especially with the Charlotte Tiffany. You guys
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of things to get off your chest, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad you did. This is a space that, you know, safe space. We don't judge. We may come with some
That's
points and
right.
some notes, but
Right.
we don't judge unless you come correct. We come correct.
That's right.
Anything else, Corey?
Nope, I'm good.
He's watching his NXT right now.
He's like,
No,
he's like, man, y'all was
it's
taking
on.
forever on this
I'm
topic.
watching. Nah, go ahead, y'all rock out.
I know, make Corey feel
um,
better. Mimi, what do we say about that man?
what character is he playing? What is that dumb character that he got
I can't. Yeah.
miscasted
Okay.
for? What is
Guile,
Yeah.
that?
Guile,
I do not know who
Guile.
that is.
Of course you don't. Of course you don't. It's fine.
What is that
I
role
was
he
I was gonna say
begged his way
Sergeant
through
Stutter, but that would be kind of mean towards him.
Whatever. And really
with his
quick, I'm
puppy
sorry.
ass
I was
lips?
going to say
Hmm.
people won't hate this, but yeah, I'm looking forward to Goldberg and Gunther for real.
You
What?
Seriously,
you were probably the only
it got turned up
person.
after last night.
How?
How,
That
Sway?
segment was actually really good.
What
It
when
was
it took
effective.
Goldberg like 17 hours to like get to the
No,
ring
don't
and
do that.
then
Don't
gear up
see.
for
You
his
know what? It's
spear?
fine. Anyone. It's okay. We're at the end of the show. It's fine. Nope. Nope. Nope.
You know
Because
what?
y'all.
I'll
Nope.
watch it when I come back into
Nope.
town just to
It's
see
cool.
like if he
Don't
keeps
worry
his
about
knees
it.
intact because those knees look on shaky ground.
Don't worry about it. It's cool. Don't even trip. It's
I'll
fine.
watch it after. I'll watch it after Love
He
Island
was gonna
tonight.
spear Gunther and he's about to spear retirement.
It's all right.
Oh my god!
The match
All
has
right.
intrigue. If it really does.
All right. Well, I think next week we should. Could you mute yourself? Okay. I think next week, Justin, I think we should have a Love Island segment.
Oh my
What you
god.
think?
Let's go. Let's
Because
do
we're
it.
getting to the end. We're getting to the end.
Ah,
So I think Sierra should be in here next week. And
Just let me know.
If you watch Love Island next week, Tuesday, we are going because I think when is the last episode? The
I
13th is
think
the
it's
last
this I think it's
episode.
this weekend. I was gonna say, I got a text. It says Islanders, bring your ass in here for a safe space.
That's right. That's right. That's what we're going to do next week. We're going to have 30 minutes of Love Island USA, and then we'll get into the grabs for the weekend. Or maybe we do the grabs for the weekend first, and then we do Love Island take for this trash ass season.
I'm
All
with it.
right.
Let's go.
All right. Thank you guys. Love you. Appreciate y'all. And we'll see you next week.
Peace.